Hello everybody and welcome back to another video of Heroes of the Storm. Today we are starting our How to Heal series and we're going to start it off with Whitemane. Pulling up the list here, you'll see that I have Whitemane in the burst healing category, which means she kind of lacks the sustained healing to keep her allies alive in prolonged fights, and she lacks the utility to help her allies or help her tank specifically chain crowd control so you can burst enemies down. But what she lacks in those two departments, she makes up for with her burst healing. In my opinion, Whitemane is the best burst healer in the game. The amount of saves that she can pump out by landing her kit on top of her allies is absurd, and it is a lot of fun. So Whitemane loves going up against melee comps. She loves going up against dive comps, but the flip of that is she actually doesn't like going into dive comps on her team because she kind of can get bursted down if the enemy team is fast enough. If the enemy team is slightly too slow on landing their abilities and Whitemane's just fast enough, she can 100% block out their damage with good healings and keep herself alive. But in general, you don't want to be going too far forward, but I'll go more into detail while we're in the game. Now, I would say we'll hop right into it and hopefully have some fun, but for the How to Heal series, in my opinion, healers are the most mechanically intense role in the game, and because of that, I'm going to go into a try mode and show you guys how her kit works. If you already know how Whitemane's kit works, just skip forward a minute or two, and we'll be right inside of the game. But if you want to know the terminology I'll be using in this video, then stay tuned for that. So we're going to hop into a try mode and show you how to play Whitemane. Okay, so this is how Whitemane's kit works. I'm going to explain it rather quickly, but also trying to just get the bare bones across. Whitemane's will be a little bit longer because her kit is one of the most intensive kits for a healer in general. So we're going to start it off with your trait, actually. So your trait is called Zeal. This is both an activatable portion and a passive portion. We're going to read the passive portion first. So Whitemane's healing abilities apply Zeal for 8 seconds. Allies with Zeal are healed for 100% of the damage Whitemane deals to heroes. This is Whitemane's bread and butter and her true core to her kit. She is meant to put a mark on her allies, which allows her to deal damage to enemies and heal your allies back for that damage. Super fun gameplay, but is also high skill capped. The activatable portion of this is you activate to gain 25 spell power and lose 15 armor for 5 seconds. So this is meant to be used in a desperation act to save your allies from burst damage that is happening, but it puts Whitemane herself at a disadvantage, allowing her to get targeted and killed by enemies if they play well. So how do you deal damage to enemies? Well, your E, Searing Lash, is a 6-second ability that deals damage in a straight line to all enemies hit. If the straight line hits enemy heroes, then a second cast will happen in the opposite direction. So right here, we will send out 1 lash and then 2, dealing damage to that enemy. But like I said, if you use this on just minions, like such, only the first cast happens. So, now we'll move on to her Q, which is called Desperate Plea. This is a 40 mana cost ability that heals an ally, whether it be Whitemane or an other ally. And upon healing that ally, you will gain Desperation. What's Desperation, you ask? Well, Desperation is a stack that gets applied to Whitemane. It is actually a debuff stack that gets applied to her. So, Desperation increases Desperate Plea, your Q, mana cost by 40, stacking up to 3 times, which means, you'll see it here, if I use my Q on an ally, point and click, it heals them, and we gain a stack of Desperation. Use it again before that bar runs out, and you're going to gain another stack. After 4 seconds, this will reset, and you can use your Q back for the 40 mana cost. However, if you are low on mana, or just in general, running combos through, and you want to keep that Desperation stack low, that's where your W comes in. Your W, Inquisition, is a point-and-click channel ability that deals damage to 1 enemy hero, and additionally, it slows them. That's noteworthy because Whitemane's only crowd control with her baseline kit comes with Inquisition. It's a 30% slow for the 3 seconds this is activated on an enemy. And I didn't mention this yet, but you also have a defensive portion to your W. It shares a cooldown with Clemency. So you activate the same thing on an ally, and it heals them. It also, and this is the big one, removes a stack of Desperation. So it's removing one of those debuff stacks to you. So we'll Q an ally, we'll Q them again, and then watch the bar. It went down whenever I pressed my 1 on an ally. Additionally, this would have happened if I would have used this on, so we'll do 1, 2, watch the bar, press it on an enemy. It went down by 1, and then we're able to continue using our Qs for a low mana cost. Anyways, that's Whitemane in a nutshell. So we're going to hop into a game and hopefully have some fun. Alright, and we find ourselves on the Battlefield of Eternity today. We're going to go over our Skinergy quick. So, Whitemane is one of my favorite heroes for her her personality. Yes, that's why I love this hero. But the witch skin is just so beautiful. It's really an elegant skin, and the best part of it is her built-in mount where she flies on this broom, and she's got her little kitty cat. I love this skin mount combo. It's one of my favorites in the entire game. I'm going to talk a little bit about the talents in this series, but it's mainly going to be focused around the gameplay. And like I said, the healer role is very selfish. But if you want to learn more about the talents, we'll go deep in depth and diving into it at the end of the video. So stay tuned for after the game, and we'll talk about that a bunch more. But I did go for Pity the Frail. That will, in short, it deals crit healing to low health allies. So, you notice we're positioned further back. As a healer, you are the most selfish hero in the game. So, what that means is you need to be playing in a position, putting yourself first inside of the game, and your allies second, which is kind of counterintuitive whenever you are, like I said, the healer. You would think that you'd want to be, sorry, I gotta shut up and try to heal my allies. You'd think that you want to be putting your allies first, but a dead healer means no one's getting healed. Not you, not your allies. No one gets healed with a dead healer. See if we can't maybe save my ally. Unfortunately, I kind of messed up my combos, and now both my allies will die here. Unfortunately. I'll do my best to defend, and if this hero wants to go in on me, that's not the end of the world. He'll take some tower shots. And Whitemane, like I mentioned before, she's rather good in burst engagement. So, this fight in the top lane, or in the bottom lane, has been, for the most part, pretty much a sustained fight. And our allies died because of it, because I don't want to be wasting my mana on things that I don't have to. Make sure my allies are getting the healing that they deserve. Trying to keep this one alive. We'll activate my trait to make sure that they stay alive a moment longer. There's a W. We get a nice camp timing, and as well as 1, maybe 2 picks. I did waste all of my mana to get that fight happening in our direction there, which is a common theme. But you notice that fight was rather a quick fight, and we were able to outdo the Anduin player in that quick fight because our burst healing is better than most healers in this game. Gotta go ahead and base, because as Whitemane, you oftentimes are gonna have to reset, because what happens is you dump all of your mana to win a single team fight. You win that fight, but then you're out of resources and you have to reset, and your team has to play safe for the next few moments while you regain your mana and cooldowns. Really nice pick there in the top lane by my ally. I'm gonna go ahead over here and soak this, because despite you're a healer and despite you having a very poor wave clear, it is still your responsibility whenever you queue up for a MOBA to do the chores of the game. And in my case, it would be soaking right there. Another tip that I need to mention, and this will be a theme that is not just for Whitemane, but for every healer inside of this game. You are fragile, and you need to understand where and when you can go places. You will never, ever, for any reason, be the one entering a bush. Damn. That's unfortunate. A long crowd control combo will get me killed. That happens on every healer. If you get stunned for 4 seconds, you're gonna die. Unfortunate, though. If I spammed out maybe 1 more healing tick, I could have lived, but I was trying to save my desperation stacks, and that brings me to my next point. On Whitemane especially, your mana is a resource meant to be spent. You should be spending it to save whoever needs saving in that moment. This can end up biting you later in the game. You notice I'm not taking this position because we are afraid of that bush. We have vision of the bush now, so now I could take this position over here. And it's just these little movements, letting my allies enter the fight first, that's going to be a big factor on whether or not we win or lose the game. I was positioning in the last fight, positioning behind my allies, and I still got engaged upon because the enemy team knows... Wow, that was a close fight. The enemy team knows that I'm going to be their... the make or break it for my allies. You can see right there, we're able to heal up the Falstad player rather nicely. We're waiting for my stacks to reset so I can get another set of abilities out there. I need to not overextend as best as possible here. Continue to just heal my allies, keep them safe, while trying to keep myself in a safe position as well. Unfortunately, Falstad got slowed by the Tychus's abilities, and he will get taken down. Hopefully, I can save my ally when she gets rotated on by red team here. But it looks like the Varian did not come, so everything is fine. And you'll notice I'm positioning out of vision of red team's heroes. This is using my ally as bait, and this is something that a lot of healers can do, but Whitemane thrives at. Because you're so good at negating burst damage, and especially melee targets, you're able to make the enemy team think they can get a kill that is not there for them to be able to get. And it can make them, one, waste long ability cooldowns, and two, just waste mana, waste positioning on the map. Ping that we're on our way to help my allies, and brings me to another point. I'm going to be all over the place in this series because, like I said, healers are very much one of, if not the most micro-intensive heroes in the game. Because there's so much going on. You're not just worried about dealing damage to that one enemy hero. You're worried about, you can see that enemy team is just, the Varian especially, is just hunting forever, wherever I'm going to go. So we're going to be playing behind our tank. But you're worried about all of your allies' health as well. I think we'll be fine here for at least a moment longer. We'll activate some more spells here, baiting that enemy into their death, and I am fine because Whitemane is really good at, like I said, she's really good at baiting enemies into thinking they can get a kill that they indeed cannot get. Unfortunately, though, red team had much better map control and pressure in the bottom lane, so they do get a fort despite us getting the first objective and having general better map control throughout. Well, I don't know, better map control, but having better soak, at least. They do get the first fort in the game. Our level 10 ability will help us out significantly here, so we're going to get ready to pick that. As well as keeping my ally and myself alive. There we go. We get my ultimate ability picked up. Nice pick on red team by my allies. I'm debating how I want to play this. Popping my ult in a horrible time. Trying to save my ally, but red team backed out. Thankfully, that's opened up a window for us to attack them elsewhere on the map. Trying to keep my mana pool at a healthy position and sustain my allies through this fight. But unfortunately, since I whiffed my ult, I'm going to have to Sippy Cup here. In order to have enough mana to sustain us through this next fight. Additionally, you'll realize enemy team only has one melee target. That is not what Whitemane wants. She typically wants some multiple melee targets to actually be able to... She wants a couple melee targets to be able to land her E, as that's your real moneymaker when it comes to healing. Make sure my ally stays healthy. Try to engage in subjective, but use my allies as the bait. I do not want to be the one to be engaged upon. Red team might just have what it takes to overcome us here. They do. Regardless, we've had really good push in every lane on the map, so whenever we break through, it'll be a big breakthrough, I'm hoping. We're going to take the nice, long, safe route throughout this rotation to make sure I don't get caught by the Taunt Varian, who is in the bottom lane. Abathur and Camps doing a great job of getting us a good kill. Or a good capture on the building. Here comes red team now, I'm sure, rotating to the top lane. Our siege and wave clear on this hero is non-existent. You are really, truthfully, just spec'd 100% into dealing burst healing. That is what this hero is built and meant to do. And that's what you're going to have to understand is Try to heal this ally up. Really good burst healing there by mashing all of our buttons. I'm sorry I had to shut up to focus there for a moment, but we're able to save our Jaina from a very unfortunate position and get the counter kill. And that is some burst healing that very few heroes can actually do inside of this video game. I have my Zeal stacked up on multiple allies, so landing some heals is a nice thing to do. Mash out more healing on top of this ally. Got one more, and then that's it, friend. I'm so sorry. He lives, thankfully. So we'll be able to back out, and during that fight, I healed for so much healing, virtually saving 2 allies from immediate doom, baiting out some other things, such as Pyroblast and Kraken Drill, and allowing us to come out on top in that engagement. But now what do we have to do? We have downtime. We have to back out. We have to retreat and get that mana bar refilled. They don't waste, but we used our ultimate ability. And these are things that are... you have to be taken into account whenever you're playing with a Whitemane on your team. Or when you're playing the Whitemane, you need to tell your team, like, hey, I need 30 seconds to go back to base, heal my mana bar, and then I can re-engage. Once again, you'll notice I'm staying very far back. To make sure my allies are the ones getting engaged upon first. Unfortunately, I took a good bit of damage there. We're going to mash out as many heals as I can inside of this engagement. It ends up working out pretty nicely there. We're able to keep myself alive as well as get a counter kill on top of the enemy team's enemy team's Tychus and Kel'Thas alike. Maybe kill the Anduin as friendly team rushes him down. Their Varian player doing a really good job though of slowing and peeling. Well done by my allies. Unfortunately, it does look like Anduin backs out, but thankfully Tychus has been pushing the rest of the map, getting us the halftime show already in this objective. Make sure my ally stays safe. Jaina had to base. And another thing I will mention is, as a healer in Heroes of the Storm, if you have the mana and cooldowns, there is zero reason why you should not have your allies at full HP. You see all of my allies are at full HP right now, and that is how you want it to be at the start of every single engagement if you can. There's no reason to allow your allies to stay at a unhealthy HP whenever you have the cooldowns to do it. I mentioned it before, but be afraid of all bushes. Check bushes, do not face check. Check bushes with your abilities, do not face check bushes. Make sure red team is not going to be lurking inside of a bush just ready to one-shot you. Really good pickup by the Arthas and Abathur player as we get this full HP Immortal pushing into this building. We're playing back. We're playing back. We're ready to engage to save my allies if they need it. Like right here. Oh, geez. He died so quickly. And with that reduced healing of the mortal wounds that their tank can pump out, it makes our job, or our life, so much harder to actually keep up. Regardless, though, we're getting great push everywhere on the map currently. So even if that's all we get with that objective, I'm pretty happy with that. We'll back out. We'll take a camp. That's good push there. Their building's down to only less than 2,000 HP. Camp's up in 4 seconds. I don't have my ult, so we'll ping it. I also don't have my trait, which is, it's called Zeal. But remember, it has two parts of it. The one puts that little trait on your allies, and the other part, the activatable part, allows you to deal crit. It gives you spell power, which allows your healing to crit, as well as your damage to crit, which in turn crits your healing. And the cycle goes on and on. Taking a little safe route, because if there's a Varian lurking in a bush, well, you're just dead. Letting my allies check the bushes first, sitting in the back line, so when they get engaged upon, I'm not the one getting engaged upon. Gonna try to save this ally here, but no. They just have too much on the field. We get the camp, but I think it might cost us our Jaina player. I hope that it's her that's going to die and not me, truthfully. Ooh, that's some big damage. Alright, not the worst. Unfortunately, Arthas isn't a super hefty tank to begin with. And you can see him getting bursted that quickly. Imagine what would happen to me. Pretty good gank setup by my allies there. all things considered. Try to keep this one alive. I need to be rather careful because Pyroblast could come out. There it is on top of my face. I'm going to have to dodge out some spells here. I do have my Zeal stacked up all the way. I'm going to... Aw, damn. I was going to say, I'm going to opt to fight this because if I didn't get hit by the stun there, I could have spammed out more Qs and possibly lived. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. A good stun by Kael'thas gets me killed, and I believe both of my deaths in this game have been due to a Kael'thas. But it ends up working out due to Jaina's terrific ice block and Arthas reviving at just the right time. We end up on top of that engagement with 2 kills to only just the 1. Hopefully my allies can get another pick on top of the Tychus player. Excellent. And maybe keep our Arthas alive with great healing from Abathur and Army of the Dead. And we should be able to march right into this objective and get a nice pick. During that engagement, by the way, Abathur captured the top lane for us. And we are just slowly pushing down red team. Now you notice we are also, additionally, we are also out-healed by the Anduin player. That's because this game in general has been very much... sustained fights, and that's where he's overcoming me in the healing stats. So I personally think I have saved my allies more than the Anduin has saved his, but that stat doesn't show up as pretty because my saves have been burst saves on a solo target, whereas he's getting his healing stats from healing up his Tychus in the solo lane while Abathur pokes him down. They're on this camp, and I kind of want to fight them for it because I have my R. We're very good at taking these engagements. Hopefully my team can survive through some of this damage that red team is really pumping out on top of us. I am unfortunately messed up my abilities there, but we get a beautiful pick on top of their healer, and we cap the camp just as the objective is pushing in. I will be able to finish off the Varian player with a W, as well as great follow-up from my allies. And now that the big scary man's dead, that being their tank, I'm able to play a little bit more aggressively, which is very nice. I think we're gonna pick up. Like I said, I'll explain the build at the end. Actually, I'm too busy of a healer to explain it right now, and I do apologize for it. But there's just a lot going on when you play this. Any healer, but Whitemane in particular. She's one of the harder healers in the game. Well, with that, I'm hoping we'll be able to finish out this game. Still playing respectful to the red team's engagement abilities, but great stuns by my allies. Great roots will help us get a wonderful pick on top of their healer, or on top of their Kael'thas, and there we go. We have finished out the game. Give them a GG. And like I said, despite our healing not triumphing their healer, we still had such great saves on top of my allies in quite a few crucial moments that I think we did a good enough job of showcasing how great this hero can be. Props to our Arthas. He did a fantastic job. I mean, everyone on the team did, to be honest. Like I said, now we're going to hop into the end of the video where we're going to start talking about the builds and talents that you can pick for this hero, and the way that I like to build her, the way you can build her, all that fun jazz. The build we went in today's video in particular was at level 1, Pity the Frail. So, like I said, it crit heals ally heroes when they are below 30% HP. They crit heal for 25% more healing. Additionally, every time you hit an enemy hero with your E, it reduces the cooldown of your W. This just combos really well with all kinds of talents and Whitemane's kit in general, giving you more Qs or giving your Qs less cooldown or less mana because you're landing more Ws, and you have more Ws to land because you're landing your E. And I'll talk more about that with later talents. Moving on, we went for Martyrdom. So Desperate Please healing is increased by 30%. So your Q's healing gets increased by 30% baseline. Additionally, increase this by an additional 10% for each active Zeal on an ally hero. So if you have your Zeal spread to all of your allies, your Q is healing for a truckload. It's so beautiful, and it, once again, combos well later in the game, and it really just cements Whitemane with her burst healing saves. Moving on to level 7, we went for Zealous Spirit. There's two options you can go at level 7. So if you need to protect yourself more, then you go for Zealous Spirit. This is what I like in most of my games, because like I said, I tend to favor more on the selfish gameplay for healers, where I'm protecting myself first and then my allies second. But The other option is an Unstoppable talent, which is on a 40-second cooldown, I think it is, 45-second cooldown, and it's very, very strong. I would highly recommend you pick it. Honestly, you should be picking those talents, Zealous Spirit and the Unstoppable, in about 50% of your games, depending on what they have. With them only having the Varian taunt, I was like, I would rather keep myself more healthy with Zealous Spirit, is what was going on in my head, and truthfully, my head was on autopilot a little bit. But more often than not, this is what I go, despite I do agree the Unstoppable is probably the better talent in general. Moving on, Divine Reckoning at level 10. You noticed I saved my allies quite a few times inside of that game. It is because of Divine Reckoning. If you are playing against a Whitemane and you see a Divine Reckoning go out, get out of Divine Reckoning or you are losing that team fight. Period. End of story. Game over. One of the strongest abilities in the game. So after 1 second, you create an area of effect that deals damage to enemy heroes. And for 25% of the damage dealt to heroes is returned as mana. Which means you have near infinite mana if just 1 or 2 heroes are standing inside your Divine Reckoning, which means you have infinite Qs. Moving on, at level 13, we will go for Lashing Out. Now, I will mention it because I know people are starting to type in the comments right now. I know that there's different talents you can pick here. I'll go over that in a moment. But in this particular build, this is my Burst Healing Whitemane build, because if we go back to the list, I think she is a Burst Healer. So we're going to double down and play to that strength of Burst Healing. Lashing Out, if your E lands its second strike on an enemy hero, reduce its cooldown to 1 second. So you have your E to spam out consistently if you're landing it consistently. You combo Lashing Out with Pity the Frail at level 1, and you now have infinite E's because of your Lashing Out, which in turn gives you a lot of W's, which giving you a lot of W's reduces the mana cost of your Qs, giving you more Qs. It's very beautiful synergy inside of that little combo of those two talents that help you sustain your ally heroes and just shuffle through your healing combos more easily. At 16, I then go for Radiance. So reaching 3 stacks of Desperation heals your ally for a bonus healing and reapplies Zeal to, get this, all allies with Zeal, which this combos very well with your level 4 talent, Martyrdom. So for every ally that has that Zeal stack, your Q's healing more. And typically in a burst scenario, you're spamming Q on one ally. This will give you additional healing per ally that has your Q. And remember, all of them should have it if you have Radiance reapplying that Zeal. And then additionally, at 3 stacks of your Desperation, so using your Q 3 times on an ally, burst heals them. It's beautiful synergy. And then at level 20 is honestly the most fluctuation point I have for this hero, where there's quite a few that are good, and almost every single level 20 is viable. You just have to kind of understand what you need in that game. So if you go the other alt and you need the Unstoppable, that's 99% of the time the right pick. If you go for the other alt, just go for the better level 20 for it. But Judgment Day is what I went at level 20. So Divine Reckoning deals 50% more damage and pulls enemies to its center the first time it hits them. So the reason I went for this is because, Red Team had a very nasty combo where they were getting a taunt, which allowed them to easily land a Kel'Thas E. And then if they wanted to follow up, if I wasn't dead by then, they could have landed an Anduin route. And so what Judgment Day does is it disrupts them that little bit with the pull. The pull of Whitemane's R disrupts them just enough to maybe make them mess up that combo and give you the survivability you need, as well as the bonus damage on it is Chef's Kiss. It's also worth noting that the little pull it does briefly stuns enemy heroes. So you can use this to actually cancel a lot of things, such as Holy Word Salvation or Mosh Pits or other things that are channeled abilities. So keep that in mind when you're playing Whitemane. So that was the build I go in today's video. It's what I go in most of my games, like I said. But there is some fluctuation. So level 7, Intercession. It's that ability that grants Unstoppable for an ally. I would highly recommend you pick this up in a lot of your games. Level 13 and 16 has a nasty talent combo of synergy that, in my opinion, doesn't synergize with Whitemane's kit. So Whitemane's kit is a burst healing kit. You're meant to save your allies, save a single ally in particular, sometimes two if you're willing to dump all your mana, from burst damage. Now, your level 13 and 16 talents, Subjugation and Shared Punishment, help with your sustain healing, which can be useful for healing, but it's typically used just to disrupt your enemies. So I'll explain what these talents do very quick. Subjugation at level 13, your W reduces all damage that the target affected by your W deals by 50%. And that's only on enemies. So if you press your W on a Pyroblasting Kael'thas, and the Pyroblast hits you while they're hit by Subjugation, it's dealing 50% less damage, which is really strong. I will not argue with that. It is a very, very strong talent. You win. You do. But I don't think it fits her kit. And then at level 16, we go for Shared Punishment, which just makes that other talent so much better. Upon casting your W, it'll then chain to a nearby enemy hero, meaning you can have your W on 2 enemy heroes, which effectively doubles the damage that you're dealing, which doubles the healing you're dealing. And it's also reducing more damage because of Subjugation, so 2 heroes now only do 50% damage. And lastly, it reduces the armor of those heroes by 10%. It's a nasty, nasty combo of talents that, truthfully, will win you games. I'm not going to deny it. They are good talents, but it doesn't fit Whitemane's kit because you're sacrificing that wonderful synergy with Lashing Out, giving you good healing if you're able to land your E's. Great healing if you can land your E's. And your Radiance, which just saves team fights, whereas the other talents tend to help whittle down the enemy heroes and keep your team healthy over a more sustained fight. Radiance, Lashing Out, it's about that burst fight. That's what you're drafting Whitemane for. That's why we play this beautiful, beautiful healer. Anyways, that'll do it for today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Please do not forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.